2. Welcome to the Shifter, everybody. I'm Will,
I'm Matt.
and
That's Clint. That's Kevin. That's Shane. That's Austin.
and
Um, Sonoma?
and
There's no more ants, man.
and
There's-
okay. Let's get right into this thing because this past weekend we had Sonoma race weekend. We had finally the last weekend of Fox, or is that really how I feel about it? I'll talk a lot about Fox after Matt runs down the race weekend. Matt, obviously, based on your picture, you gotta touch on the Xfinity race. But we actually have a lot to say about the Cup race too. So that being said, Matt, you get right into it.
well, I'm gonna piss Will off first because you know how he hates when I pander to the sponsors, and you know we gotta do that first because you know I'll forget.
The people that
Guys, it is
support us.
guys, forgetting is a very serious problem. It is Alzheimer's Awareness Month this month. I need you guys to really, be respectful, especially you, Will, because you know what? You yell at me when I forget things. He does not, guys.
I
He
would
does not.
never.
Please don't yell at me after the show if I forget one of the sponsors. Okay, but let's get into the sponsors so we can get into Sonoma Race Weekend because surprisingly we have a lot to talk about. So, first off, go watch Milan's show on YouTube. Mario's an introvert. Go follow. I almost said subscribe. Go follow at Ricasso on Instagram. She made our logo. Go watch Ken's YouTube. Go watch Ant's YouTube, and also go follow at Grateful Studios on Instagram and go buy some clothes from Terrell because that's what he wants you to do because he wants your money.
He wants you to buy his clothes so that you can give him money in exchange for the clothes.
Or just give him money.
Or just give him money. I don't necessarily think he's in a rush to offload the clothes.
Money is the key. All right, but let's get
He
into Sonoma Race
wants
Weekend.
it. He wants money. Give it to him. All right.
Anything else?
No, so the Xfinity race. How about that?
Oh no! Wait! Because I actually know who won the ARCA race. Sam Mayer won because Sam Mayer, Brandon Jones, and Noah Gragson decided to do the ARCA race because they suck at road courses, guys. Noah Gragson dominated it, had a mechanical failure, and Sam Mayer won. I did not watch. I will admit that I did not watch the ARCA race, guys. Put it in the
What the
comments how much of
hell?
a casual I am. But I
You
actually did.
didn't watch the ARCA race? Are you serious? Imagine not watching any of the races in a given race weekend.
Will watch the ARCA race, guys.
Yeah, I did.
He watched Sam
No
Mayer win by like
showers,
20 seconds.
no closets, just ARCA night in America.
Oh yeah. But we actually are going to touch on the Xfinity race because you know how I joked it was like I think it was going into the Talladega race weekend when Natalie Decker, Matt Benedetto, and Jeffrey Earnhardt and Haley Deegan were all in the same race, except Natalie Decker didn't show up because she lost her sponsor. But I was joked that was going to be the meme race or whatever. I made like a terrible joke that nobody laughed at. So this Sonoma race actually might have been the meme race. We also I want to touch on it because we do get a meme moment. Boris said was back for this race. He was going to be my profile picture if this didn't happen, but I promise I will give you some Boris at some point during the season. But Boris said wrecked in practice, was called washed and terrible by all the fan base, and the fan base told him that he never did anything. Go watch early 2000s NASCAR. But he before he got crashed by Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs did a thing. Ty Gibbs got involved in the big one. Yes, we had a big one. We actually had a big one in the Cup race too. But
Yeah, Ty Gibbs also did a thing in the Cup race, so
yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But Ty Gibbs got threw a temper tantrum after his crash and did a burnout and rammed into Chandler Smith and Boris said Chandler Smith is his teammate. Chandler Smith would recover for a top 10. Boris said actually would drive himself all the way back up to 12th. Guys, he is 61. He drove up to 12th twice after starting in last in a backup car with Greg Ives as the crew chief. No shade to Greg Ives, but man, we should have won so many more races in 2015. But that's besides the point. Boris said was taken out or had some sort of mechanical failure. Fox didn't tell us what happened to Boris said at the end of this race, and I've not seen any reason why or what happened to him, but he wound up finishing 28th. But this race came down to Austin Hill versus Shane Van Gisbergen going for his second win in a row. And people were reminded of what happened at Coda when Austin Hill shoved Shane Van Gisbergen out of the way. Because going into turn one, Shane Van Gisbergen shoved the hell out of Austin Hill, put him off the track, and would go on to win his second race in a row. And you think it's over, but Shane Van Gisbergen, he does the drift around the track, which is really cool and amazing. He did his drift around the track on Austin Hill's back bumper for the entire 11 turn road course. And then
Shane Van Gisbergen needs, and I mean needs, to be in the Cup Series full time. This is too good a TV to not have this guy racing on Sundays.
And then, like, when they asked him about it, he just completely ignored it and just threw the rugby ball. Well, tried to kick the rugby ball into the crowd. But as you know, at Sonoma, it's like way back. But he almost got it there. It was probably like a 50-yard play. He almost got it there. But
And look, I just want to say, Austin Hill, you're a boy in a man's world.
Oh, wrong way. God, I'm screwing this up.
That's all I got to. Yeah. Austin,
Oh.
here, point. Austin Hill, you're a boy.
Oh, God, I just can't get this straight. Oh.
Austin Hill, you're a boy in a man's world. And Shane Van Gisbergen, point to him. He's a man that loves to. Kurt Angle. All right. Anyway, so yeah, awesome stuff in the Xfinity race.
Austin Hill also just kind of dropped a keyboard warriors comment. He kind of threw a little temper tantrum in his interview, but you can go watch that if you want to. Let's get into the Cup race.
Well, guys, hold on. I just want to say, keyboard warriors was kind of a lame thing for like even Mike Joy to say. Mike Joy is how old is Mike Joy? Is he north of 70?
He's in his 70s. He's in his 70s.
Yeah, like Mike Joy is.
By the way, raced a race this weekend at Sonoma in the Trans Am Series. Mike Joy did.
What?
Yeah, they covered that a little bit. Him and his son both raced, and Mike Joy jokingly said that he couldn't catch his son, and he was mad.
That's actually awesome. And speaking of awesome, Mike Joy in general, we will get to that. I specifically will get to that. But it was kind of lame when Mike Joy said it, and he was kind of justified in saying it, especially with what we have come to realize now with that he's never been washed, much like Boris said in that way. It's especially lame when 28-year-old Austin Hill does it. Austin Hill is lame.
I'm sorry.
That's just how I feel about that. Austin Hill is just kind of lame. Pretty decent race car driver. Kind of a lame character. Not as I don't know him as a person, but as what he presents himself as on TV and such. Just not a fan. Not a fan.
Well,
but still wish the best for him.
Well, when you're going up against a New Zealand guy who's on the hot lap, you can't keep up with the stuff, and Austin should have known that. But let's get into the Cup race, and let's stop talking about this sexy beast that is Shane Van Gisbergen, because I promise you, we're going to get to talk about him plenty more this season and plenty more next season when he's hopefully in the Cup Series. But, all right, so stage one started out with a bang, literally, when Denny Hamlin's engine went bang. This is kind of concerning now. This is 2 weeks in a row that a Joe Gibbs racing car has blown up, which is very rare in the Cup Series starters.
To go off of that, honestly, based on Denny's explanation, it kind of just seems like Denny missed the shift.
He was kind of trying to. Even in his podcast, he kind of tried to beat around the bush. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's probably the bottom of the engine." Christopher Ellison, top. But he kept mentioning
he said
that the gears were wonky.
Yeah, he said the gears were wonky. The shifting's kind of weird. I think Denny Hamlin missed the shift, which, don't get me wrong, is still concerning for other reasons. But I got to be honest, I don't think this has anything to do with a Joe Gibbs thing. I think this was driver error, which driver error kind of the story of this past race, but also we talked earlier in the season. I think we talked about this on the show because it was discussed on Twitter, but like how engine failures are just not normal anymore, and we were kind of missing them. So thank you, Denny Hamlin, for providing the nostalgia.
Thank you. And thank you for giving us a very weird interview with Jamie Little where you just would not admit to your wrongs, Dennis. Because as Kyle Larson said, we'll get to him later because we have to. Denny Hamlin does no wrong. But then you think, all right, well, it's an early caution at Sonoma. Well, before we even get into this, there's going to be a lot of them. When there's cautions at road course races, it completely changes the strategy because you're constantly trying to hop to the front because track positioning nowadays, it's the age of Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart running through the field is gone. And with stage racing, there's constant shifting. That is the one plus the stage racing at road courses. With the lack of passing, it adds in that strategy aspect. Again, it's just like the Gateway race or Pocono, kind of where it's just constant strategy. But we would get another quick caution when Ty Gibbs hit the new inside wall in turn 11 and it broke his
Yep.
toe link, and then he was hit the wall again going into turn 1, ending his day for a second straight day. Tough week for the kid in Sonoma, but guys, he's
Oh,
going.
wait, we didn't talk about the most important part of this race. We skipped right by it.
Oh, the
The
repays?
command.
Oh, the Impractical
Murr
Jokers
from
command. Kelsey
Impractical
Plum did the
Jokers.
command for the Xfinity race, too.
Kelsey Plum. I don't care about Kelsey Plum. That has nothing to do. See, you're going to make allegations. That has nothing to do with her being a female basketball player. That has everything to do with her being very annoying.
Man,
Anybody who's
Darren
seen a
Waller's
clip of her,
rap was way more annoying than anything that she's done. Darren Waller just
that is true.
sucked.
Darren Waller, what are we doing? But also the clip of Kelsey Plum eating the popcorn is one of the most infuriating things I've seen in my life.
He's corky.
She set women's sports back about a decade, but that is actually really cool that they got Kelsey Plum to do the Xfinity race. I still feel like that's a pretty high profile celebrity to have for the Xfinity race.
He asked
Like
them
she
to
would
do it, actually.
really,
Yeah.
honestly, look, I know what I just said about Kelsey, but like, I mean, had they not had Murr lined up, like she would be a perfectly good celebrity to do the Cup race.
No, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, oh, why didn't she just wait for the Vegas Cup race? But
Yeah, but that being said, yeah, Murr he did an awesome job, and I got to be honest, I was half expecting this to be some kind of punishment. So just to
he
see
blew
that he
up
did it
Denny
for
Hamlin's
fun is
engine,
cool.
man. He blew up Denny Hamlin's engine. I know you've seen the memes. Denny did not miss a shift because Denny does no wrong. Denny was a victim of impractical jokers.
That is
But
true.
the actual most important part of this race that we totally glossed over. They repaved Sonoma, guys, so it's totally
Yeah.
different. It's faster. That's why there was a lot of driver error. But
And you
after the
very much
time,
can tell on TV too. Like it looks like a very, 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 very different product.
but during I think it was this caution, the leader in the pole sitter, Joey Logano, who guys needs a win, needs it
Yeah.
badly, and he looked dominant. It looked like it was going to be a vintage Joey Logano kind of day, which is weird for Sonoma because we kind of think of him as being good at Watkins Glen. But
Yeah.
Joey Logano, Paul Wolf decides to make the strategy call, which looked like the right play at the time to bring Joey down to pit and go ahead and hop because Joey, like he does care about stage points, but they need the win because there's going
Yeah.
to be other winners, especially with guys like Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, all those guys around the cut line. They're one or two of those guys are probably going to get wins before the end of this regular season. So they're trying to get a win, and it puts them in the back of the pack. Michael McDowell joins them, who's also trying to get a win. And the next two cautions, the big one would take place involving two playoff guys on this bubble, Chase Briscoe and Joey Logano. And it would basically end Joey Logano's competitive day as it tore off the right side of his car. I think he fought back for a top 15. But sucks for
I
that
think
20.
so.
Yeah, because I know he got back in the top 10 at one point on strategy, but the car just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Also, then in a wreck around this time, I'm going to go ahead and jump to this one. I don't know if it's the next wreck. Michael McDowell would go head first in the tire barrier. I want you guys to remember that for the end of this race. Michael McDowell went first into the tire barrier. Also,
head first into the tire barrier. Michael McDowell in the 34 car, he went head first into the tire barrier. In this race, he went head first into the tire barrier. Got to remember that.
Guys, day's done for Michael McDowell. We won't see
Day's
him
over. No.
But then we get to maybe one of the most embarrassing wrecks of the season. Going into that new turn 11, Josh Berry made a very questionable block on Eric Jones going into the turn for the second big one of the day. Oh, by the way, I do want to touch on this. The one gap that Clint Boyer made, he was trying to find a way to make wreck Bubba Wallace's fault. Bubba Wallace went off the course like right before this, and he was like, I think it had something to do with the 23 car getting back on. Bubba Wallace was like way off the course, and Bubba Wallace going off course probably stopped him from being involved in this wreck.
Yeah. I will say, though, I actually, even though it's him kind of somewhat trying to blame my driver, I actually do credit Clint for trying to give an alternate perspective and say, like, oh, well, maybe this played a role, because I do understand what he's saying, but he's definitely wrong in this case. Speaking of Bubba going off course, yeah, honestly, I think that was a pretty phenomenal save.
It was, and you didn't die, and you stayed above the cut line today. Just spoiler alert. So good job.
Yeah,
Top 20 for Bubba to road course is fine.
Yeah.
But there was some pretty hilarious memes with NASCAR Twitter. It was kind of funny. They were like, 9/11 happens. Clint Boyer trying to find a way to blame Bubba Wallace. But But Josh Berry gets turned into this turn 11 wall, and then yes, he made the block on Eric Jones, so it'd still be his fault. He tries to blame it on Eric Jones over the radio, but then just does not stop, keeps going, and rams into the field in one of the most embarrassing wrecks. But luckily, there was lots of cars involved in this, including Brad Keselowski and Martin Truex, who bounced back and would be factors later in this race. But it did end the day of two drivers that was not really covered at all. Austin Dillon, who was having another great top 10 run, his day got ended in this crash. They could not fix the 3 car. And William Byron, I don't know exactly what happened to him in this crash, but he ran like 50 seconds off the pace for the rest of the race. So I'm assuming he broke a toe link, would be my assumption. Yeah. But Josh Berry's car was fine until it broke later, because 2 Stewart Haas cars will be out of this race with mechanical failures. Chase Briscoe, which is big for the cut line, because I think Chase Briscoe is going to have to get a win now. And Josh Berry. All Stewart Haas cars and all Joe Gibbs Racing cars were involved in a crash at some point in this race. So
that being said, hold on, I'll kind of help get us back on track and get us set up for stage 3. So Matt, stage 1 was won by Tyler Reddick.
And then stage 2
was Busher. Right.
Yes. I have to touch on how they got up there though. Because so the different strategies here, eventually the guys up front, the top 7 did not pit, and then eventually they do have to pit. And with this all getting messed up by all the cautions, you don't know exactly how long you go on fuel, because the fuel window is normally 41 laps at Sonoma, and it made it to like 50, so nobody really knew what the right strategy was, and it put Chris Buescher out at the front going into stage 3. Because his team played it the best. Chris Buescher, very underrated road racer. Before we get into this, this would be his 3rd straight top 5 finish at Sonoma. But you basically have 2 distinct strategies. The strategy that Chris Buescher and Mark Truex, Kyle Busch, and AJ Allmendinger are at the front of the field. And then you have the strategy that Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, and Chase Elliott are on in the middle of the pack. So basically, Chris Buescher, Martin Truex, they're going to run it long because they're going to have to pit earlier. And then Kyle Larson, Chase, it would really just be Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott, because Tyler Reddick could not get through the field. Are going to run it short, and they're going to be on the attack at the end of this run for stage 3. So you get a very interesting stage 3.
Yeah, and what I like personally is that neither strategy to me I felt like was dominant over the other. We saw a blend of both kind of working out for their prospective drivers, just based on the battle we get into at the end of the race. So that being said, Matt, let's hop into stage 3. And the reason I'm kind of brushing this along, I'll just be honest, I don't have my laptop charger.
I got you. Okay, I can make this fast. So Chris Buescher and Mark Truex would be at the front of this pack. They would pit. It would give Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott the lead. Chase Elliott would be about 4 to 5 seconds behind Kyle Larson. And this is very important, because that 9 car to this point is the only car that can match lap times with the 5 car. But due to Kyle
Chase
Larson,
Elliott sucks and is washed.
Chase Elliott was the fastest car at the end of this race by 6 tenths.
Chase Elliott, Mickey Mouse, self-spin, silver spoon, bad. I don't like him.
Got it. So,
joke is, I love Chase Elliott, and I think he's awesome.
A wizard, just amazing. Finds his way through the traffic. Chase Elliott not able to get through, so he's about 4 seconds behind Kyle Larson. This takes Chase Elliott out of the race win factor. So basically, now Kyle Larson will pit, but he will have fresher tires. He has 7 seconds to make up. He has Chris Buescher, Martin Truex, AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Busch, and Michael McDowell to pass. Michael McDowell has found his way to 5th, guys.
Y'all remember what he was doing earlier?
In the tire barrier with Noah Gragson. Yeah, that was the other Stewart Haas car. Yeah, sorry. We don't talk about Stewart Haas in this race. They disrespected Tony's great name at this racetrack. But so Kyle Larson, you're kind of wondering if he's going to be able to get to these guys, and you think this is Buescher's race to lose until Martin Truex turns on that Sonoma charm, because he's so charming.
And he does that a little bit after the race, so we'll get to that.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain. A lot happened in the last lap of this race, but so Martin Truex eventually catches Chris Buescher. Kyle Larson struggles to get around the battle of AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, and Kyle Busch, but eventually does, and it just starts knocking lap times down. And then all of a sudden, the front 3 are all together. Martin Truex finally gets around Chris Buescher. And by the way, guys, if Chris Buescher wins this race, it really blows up the playoff picture. So that was huge that Martin Truex passed him. Martin Truex passes him, and Kyle Larson follows suit. But in going into turn 7 on the first lap, Martin Truex has the lead. He misses the turn. It gives the lead to Kyle Larson. and this would give the win to Kyle Larson. And you're thinking, well, this is pretty self-explanatory how the end of this race is going to go. Remember how I talked about nobody really knew what the fuel window was earlier? Well, on the last lap, Martin Truex would run out of gas.
But
And
we would get one of the cooler moments of the season. When I say cooler, not coolest, but one of the cooler moments of the season, which is Martin Truex Jr. willing his car to the finish line to a massive applause from the Sonoma crowd. Also, a
did
pretty
you
big
hear the
pop when
PA
he took
announcer?
the lead. No, I didn't. I didn't hear the PA
The
announcer.
PA announcer was like, "Go, don't let it down, go." It was funny.
That's awesome.
But there was Kyle Busch would also run out of gas on the last lap, but he was able to wield his way to a 12th place finish. But he also spun out on the last lap, guys. Kyle Busch was going to get top 5 out of this race, which is going to knock him above the cut line, which I'm sure you're just so mad about. But Kyle Busch would be
pissed off.
spun out by Ross Chastain in one of the most egregious things I've seen in a while. And go watch it on Twitter because Fox sure didn't catch it. But
No.
then also something they just completely missed. Chase Elliott in turn 11 must have saw what Ross Chastain did to Kyle Busch, and he sent Ross through turn 11. Nobody
He did?
about it.
I didn't know that happened.
That's how Chase Elliott got to 4th. Oh, by the way, who finished 2nd in this race, Will?
Michael McDowell
Drove all the way back through the field, was the 2nd fastest car on the racetrack, only behind that 9 car at the end of this race. He was faster than the 5 car. He was coming, but just
we got to make a video about Michael McDowell, man. He might be one of the most underrated drivers we've seen in a long time.
He's also up to 20th in points. I know 93 points is a lot, but with the struggles of Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, and even sometimes Chris Buescher, that's not an insurmountable number. So keep an eye on that because Michael McDowell has finished in the top 10 3 of the last 5 races. That 34 team is.
We go back to like Michigan before. I'm trying to think. How many races do we have to the playoffs? I'm trying to think of the upcoming schedule. Help me.
We have Iowa this week, New Hampshire, Nashville. Then we have Darlington at some point, Richmond at some point, Watkins Glen, Daytona, and the Chicago Street Race. So we have 8 races left.
That's right. Okay, so not Michigan.
Oh, we don't have Watkins Glen. I'm sorry, 7 races.
Yeah, Watkins Glen's in the playoffs.
So he does have one more road course, one more super speedway, but they're really just fast everywhere now.
Yeah, I was about to say he doesn't need it. Like he could go win at Nashville, you know.
But I'm gonna give the top 10, and then I'm gonna let you take it away.
Yep.
So first place, of course, Kyle Larson, 3rd win of the season. Waiver. We're not gonna talk about it anymore.
And I will say one thing I want to say about Kyle Larson is I want to officially retract my statement. I love Christopher Bell. I think he's awesome, but definitely was trying to think big brain and suggest that maybe Kyle Larson isn't the most talented race car driver on the planet. He absolutely is. There's not a more talented race car driver than Kyle Larson. He's a top 5 most talented race car driver of all time. That was proven to me in Indy. That's been proven to me throughout the Cup Series this year. Kyle Larson is just kind of good at everything. So I want to take that back. And that's not due to this result this week. I've wanted to say this for a few weeks. I was wrong about Kyle Larson. I apologize. This is my formal apology to Kyle Larson. And typically you don't want to hear formal apology and Kyle Larson in the same sentence. But in this case, it's a good thing for him. So that being said, get back into the top 10. I'll also go ahead and say second. I want to say it. Michael McDowell. How? All right, take it away from 3rd.
And then 3rd place is very big for that playoff level. Chris Buescher, great points day. 32 points above the cut line now. Really gave himself some breathing room there and moved up to 15th. 4th place, fastest car on the track at the end of the race. Still the best on road courses, despite not the next gym win, Chase Elliott. 5th place would go to Ross Chastain, who survived being sent into turn 11. 6th place with whatever piece of shit that Colleague is putting out this year. AJ Allmendinger wields that car to 6th place. They can't give him anything in the Xfinity Series. They can't give him anything in the Cup Series. So I don't know what the hell they're doing over there. 7th place, Ryan Blaney. Great result again for him for that cut line. 8th place, Tyler Reddick, top finishing Toyota in this race. Struggle day for Toyota. 9th place for Christopher Bell. And in 10th place, probably the underdog of the race because you expect it out of Michael McDowell on the road courses, but maybe not so much out of his teammate Todd Gilliland with the top 10 finish at Sonoma. So go ahead and take it away, Will.
All right, so now we're going to talk about Fox. I know we've been beating the drum of Fox all year. Everyone has. It's been a massive topic of discussion because when your broadcast partner for an entire half of the season is bad at their job, that's a major talking point. That's a major problem. But I want to point out some things about Fox because obviously everyone is pretty dejected over the fact that Fox is sticking around for the foreseeable future. Um, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I definitely think there need to be some tweaks. So first off, um, the parallel that keeps coming to mind is actually from pro wrestling because the problem with WWE for a long time was the production. Um, and in that case, for those unacquainted, basically what the situation was is there were guys that either had connections or were buddy buddy with like Vince or like people, high up in the company. So they stuck around for a long time, mainly just because, they were veterans of what they were doing and the people up front liked them. But Kevin Dunn is kind of that's almost a curse word for wrestling fans. You bring up Kevin Dunn, people are going to get mad just because of his tendencies and his style of production just was not cohesive with putting together a good wrestling product. And over the last, I don't know exactly how long it's been, but we talked about like since Vince is out, Triple H is in, they've overhauled the production team and the production of your average wrestling show for WWE is so much better. And the way I see it, if WWE, one of the most notoriously stubborn companies, can completely overhaul their production, it can happen for Fox too. The problem is Fox is definitely they are blatantly cutting corners with a lot of what they're doing. And actually I think this might have to do, funny enough, with the graphics that we all hate. Because I believe it was the Daily Downforce video where he talked about Fox and bringing in the new graphics, which I will say, like, you could maybe argue that what we have now is a slight upgrade over what we had just before. I don't know if I believe in that, but anyway, um, it's possible that they did put a lot of money into the last like graphics and production overhaul, and it just hasn't worked. And also we know like a lot of networks, I believe, are losing money and have been since the pandemic. I think, again, I think Fox is trying to make the most out of um, their deal with NASCAR because they also probably think that your average NASCAR fan, because let's be honest, Fox does not care about the young demo. They don't. Like, they can say that, oh, we're trying to chase that, 18 to 35 range. That's not them. Like they know who they're catering to. It's the same people they cater to on their news network, but uh, we're not going to attract new viewers with the current state of the product. Now, what I will say is, as far as the booth goes, this is actually a massive upgrade from last year and the year before. I would actually argue that what we have right now is an upgrade over Mike Joy and Jeff Gordon. I'm not gonna. Okay, part of me wants to say like, oh, it's even an upgrade over late Daryl Waltrip. It's not at all. Uh, because here's why. Clint, Matt, you mentioned this earlier. Clinton has actually been so much better over the last few weeks. Again, he has his gas every now and then, but Clint feels like he's starting to kind of find his rhythm, get back into it. Kevin Harvick, I think, is natural at his job. Mike Joy is tied with Ken Squire as the voice of NASCAR. He is the guy. And he has not lost a step. He never lost a step. I know people all last year and the year before, and they were talking about, like, oh, Mike Joy's falling asleep. Guys, that was never the case. And I think direction wise, the problem is Clint and Kevin do exactly what I would do or what you would do. They get out of Mike's way. They let him do his job. But what brought the energy to the NASCAR broadcast was Larry McReynolds and Daryl Waltrip interjecting, cutting him off, and it was just the frenzy of everyone going back and forth. It was especially coming to the finish, everyone yelling over each other, and we don't get that anymore. Like I think of like the Atlanta finish, right?
Yeah.
People were upset, like, oh, they were silent on the backstretch. Well, they were silent on the backstretch because they were probably getting out of Mike Joy's way, but Mike Joy, after doing it for 20 years, he's used to Daryl Waltrip screaming whatever the hell he's screaming. He's used to Larry McReynolds doing the same thing. So I just think in year two of keeping these two in the booth, I know that's a take that we didn't have for a while, which is like, oh, Clint might need to move to a different role. No, keep these two in the booth. Let them keep growing chemistry together. Because if you like, we could get into like year 4 or 5 of this exact trio. I would not be shocked if we're talking about like, wow, the Fox booth is good again. because it just takes time. Now, Fox obviously got the NASCAR deal in 2001. Some people try and say, like, oh, well, it took them time. In my opinion, it really did not. That was a booth that was incredible from the jump. That was a production team that was awesome from the jump, but it still took time. They definitely got better. So, like, why can't Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer get better? Because they are definitely talented at this. Now, I don't know if Mike Joy is going to stick around for 5 more years. I hope. I want Mike Joy to do this until he doesn't want to anymore. I don't see any decline here. But that being said, commentary has actually gotten a lot better. The production, unfortunately, has not. We're still missing a lot of very important things. And when we're talking about the lower series and people are speculating they're not even at the racetrack, that's pretty bad. So I don't know if we're having maybe there's overhaul going on, maybe there's like overturn. I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes there. Production just looks inherently cheap. I don't like the current graphics package, but that's not a low effort thing. That's a direction they went in that I don't like, and I can kind of appreciate that. Like, you know, I don't like the cartoon characters. I don't like. I think the sort of like red, white, and blue stars. It just looks lame. It looks cheap. But they went in that direction. Like, so it's not like they're just being lazy. A lot of people would say that like the late 2010s graphics package for Fox was pretty lazy. Um, so in my opinion, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but I am happy that we're going away from Fox for the rest of the year. I really
And we're
just
getting
hope.
Lee Dippy too. Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I can't wait. Now,
Guys,
again,
watch the Coke Zero Sugar 400. At least watch the finish. You're gonna get a commentary masterclass. But
yeah. But that being said, and also I will say, love that we're getting Lee Diffie. Let's also not slander Rick Allen though, as if he was not absolutely awesome.
no, I hope
Job.
he goes to the CW. Whenever
Yep.
they because guys, the Xfinity series is never coming back to Fox. That is one thing. It is going to the CW fully next season, and the trucks will be fully on Fox. And then you guys can look up the Cup because TNT, Prime,
Yeah,
NBC,
it's a
and
whole thing.
Fox.
But that being said,
Bragging about the Joe Minions car, and I have to say that.
and it was quite the awesome picture. I almost used this as my background. I also almost used that infamous Kyle Larson picture as my background, but I decided I'll go with Clint Boyer dancing and Kevin Harvick looking like this. But that being said, uh, leave in the comments your grade for Fox, because if I have to be honest, D plus, because last year was an F. D plus for Fox, still like maybe not quite like I would consider a D a failing grade.
I give the booth a B minus though.
But
Production's an
Booth
F.
is a B minus. Just exactly. Booth is B minus, production's an F. Uh, and also just leave your thoughts on the race. We appreciate you watching. We already ran on the sponsor show. We're not doing it again, Matt.
Well, guys, actually, okay.
No. But thanks for watching. I have been Will,
And I'm Matt.
and bye bye.